Hi, I'm Brianna.
And I'm Akira.
And you're watching
Dante's Boxing Nation.
Dante's Boxing Nation, what's going on, guys? Well, I'll tell you right now, this news did not surprise me one bit. When I first heard that the WBC ordered a title eliminator bout between BERMANE STIVERN and Luis Ortiz, that's why I didn't really report on it, because I wanted to see exactly what BERMANE STIVERN was going to say. And today, he finally came out and said it. Matter of fact, he issued out a tweet, or he basically issued out a statement on one of his social media sites. And he basically said, for anyone who thought that I was going to fight against King Kong Ortiz, it's not going to happen. I quote, "It's not going to happen." And then he said, quote, "I got bigger fish to fry." Okay? So this is what BERMANE STIVERN said when it comes to him turning down an opportunity to once again fight for a world title. Now, what I'm not understanding is when BERMANE STIVERN says he has bigger fish to fry, the thing is, we all know the bigger fish he's talking about is Deontay Wilder. BERMANE has already made it very clear that he really, really wants that Deontay Wilder rematch. And facing and beating Luis King Kong Ortiz, that would have been the easiest road and the quickest road to Deontay Wilder, right? So when you say you have bigger fish to fry, I'm not understanding that. On top of that, and he also said, by the way, that Luis King Kong, his name is not big enough. But that's kind of puzzling as well, because Alexander Povetkin's name is not as big as Luis Ortiz's name. We all know that Luis Ortiz, he's fought on HBO plenty of times, and he's more known than Alexander Povetkin. But once again, the fact that BERMANE STIVERN, he was willing to fight Alexander Povetkin so that he can put himself in position to face Deontay Wilder, you would have to ask the rhetorical question, why didn't he put himself in position to fight Deontay Wilder by fighting against Luis King Kong Ortiz? I'm telling you guys right now, there's no doubt about it. Luis King Kong Ortiz and Errol Spence, they are the most avoided fighters in the sport of boxing. And if you look at the dichotomy of Kell Brook and Errol Spence, their situations are very analogous, because you have Errol Spence, no one wants to fight Errol Spence, but at the same time, he's closing in on all of the champions. That's right, because Errol Spence, like Luis Ortiz, Errol Spence, he's the mandatory for the IBF title, which is Kell Brook's title, while at the same time being ranked number 2 in the WBC rankings for Danny Garcia's belt. So the winner of Thurman Garcia, they're going to have to see Errol Spence very soon, if Errol Spence doesn't get the Kell Brook fight first, which he probably will. But even if Errol Spence gets the Kell Brook fight first, and he beats Kell Brook, which I'm predicting he will in a tough fight, if he gets that title, even though he will no longer be the mandatory for the WB or the number 2 rank for the WBC belt, it's still going to be very difficult to avoid him, because now he has even more clout. Now he's a champion, right? So this is the same situation that Luis Ortiz is in. He's the mandatory for Deontay Wilder's belt, or not Deontay Wilder's belt. He's the mandatory for Anthony Joshua's belt, but he also has an opportunity to become the mandatory for Deontay Wilder's belt. Now, he can't be mandatories in 2 different, organizations, but The fact that he has those options is why, like I said, it's so similar to the Errol Spence situation. Now, once again, back to BERMANE STIVERN. If BERMANE STIVERN says he has bigger fish to fry, you really have to wonder, who is he going to face next that's going to be a bigger fish than Luis
Because if he's
King
not
Kong
facing
Ortiz, the winner
who
of
is he gonna
Joshua
fight?
versus Klitschko, or the winner of Fury versus Joseph Parker, or Deontay Wilder versus Gerald Washington, which we know he's not going to get the winner of that fight if he doesn't fight in a title eliminator. So once again, if BERMANE STIVERN is not facing any of the other champions, and he's not going to face Luis King Kong Ortiz, it will be really interesting to see what type of big fish BERMANE STIVERN is going to fight next. Matter of fact, I forgot, but I meant to say at the beginning of this video, the reason why I felt BERMANE STIVERN wasn't going to take this fight is because this is not the first time that Team Ortiz offered BERMANE STIVERN a fight. We talked about this, I think it was almost a year ago, when Ortiz had offered BERMANE a fight, and BERMANE, he turned it down then, and he's turning it down now. So once again, you know, some advice for BERMANE. If BERMANE STIVERN is really trying to get a title shot, he better hurry up and try to make it happen, because Ortiz is putting himself in position to become champion before BERMANE becomes champion or even fights for a title. So that's pretty much all I got, guys. We'll see what happens from this point on. I'm on to the next one.